Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Dr. Foley, this does not make it so there are less contraceptive services unless you include abortion. Isn't that correct?
That is correct.
So the premise that somehow there's less contraceptive services, unless you're counting abortion, is just not accurate.
There's nothing in the rule that would lead to that.
And in fact, when I read the code section, it seems pretty clear that if they were doing what the other side of the aisle seems to think they were doing, they were already in violation of the law. Am I misreading the law there? I know you're not a lawyer. You can say I'm not a lawyer. It's all right.
I'm not a lawyer.
All right. Well, I'm a lawyer, and that's the way I read it. It looks like to me, if what they're saying is accurate, somebody was violating the law all along. Speaking about that, there's been a lot of discussion about the co-location requirements. What percentage of Title X clinics are currently in violation of the co-location requirements in the new rule?
The estimate by a congressional report was that approximately 10% of the Title X service sites are in co-location. If you look in the preamble, the discussion and the calculations that the department made to look at economic impact with a physical separation made an estimate that possibly there would be 20%. So they increased that to make sure that there was enough of a balance to really properly look at what economic impact there might be for requiring physical separation.
So out of all the thousands of locations, we're talking about somewhere between 10 and 20% may be impacted by this. Is that correct?
That is the estimation, yes.
And my understanding is that co-location requirement is not heavy or heavily onerous, so it's something that most of these locations can probably fix fairly easily. Isn't that also correct?
Again, that is a determination for those particular entities.
But the rule was not interpreted, or it was not intended to be overly burdensome, just trying to follow the law. Isn't that correct?
It's trying to make sure that we are in compliance with the statute, yes.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? An administration wants to follow the statute. It's just amazing. Let me ask you some other questions, if I might. Can you describe the program reviews that HHS uses to audit Title X grantee compliance with the terms of their Title X grants?
We currently have a number of monitoring processes in place. One of them is an extensive program review that occurs once every funding period, where there is an extensive administrative, clinical, and financial audit and review of the grantee as well as a number of subrecipients.
So these program reviews do extend to the subrecipients?
They do.
Okay. And
not all of the subrecipients, but there are one or two that are chosen for site visits.
Mm-hmm. And how frequently does HHS conduct program reviews or other audits of the Title X grantees?
They are done once a project period, so typically a grantee would be reviewed once every 2 to 3 years.
Okay, so we're not talking about monthly or quarterly or anything like that? No. And what are some of the common findings these audits have had over the last 5 to 10 years?
When those have been reviewed, there are a number of administrative types of things that have shown up as far as not reporting, different kinds of things. There have been situations where there have been instances where funds have been commingled that have been a citation. Again, not to the level of when we find a citation, typically we notify the grantee of that, and then they are required to fix whatever that was and then get back to us about how they have done that, and we follow up again. So there have been a number of instances over the past 5 years that have shown misunderstanding with grantees and some subrecipients as far as what the funds can be used for and not used for.
Now, my time is almost up, but can you elaborate on your written testimony and tell me how the Protect Life rule would expand innovation?
The part of what the requirements in the new rule are that we would extend as part of the application process, that there would be priority given to grantees that show innovation in reaching underserved or unserved populations. And so looking to try to expand beyond maybe where we're having services, where we are providing services already.
So the hope is that you'll have a greater impact on the communities, particularly the lower income communities.
Yes.
Yes. I yield back.